Hey guys, how are you? I hope everything is doing well. So, I started getting these questions about the new MacBook Air M1, and people are wondering, is this a good computer to buy for development? So I figured I'd jump into it. Short answer, because I don't like to leave people hanging, like in so many YouTube videos. Yeah, I think it's going to be a game changer. My first SSD-based computer was the second generation MacBook Air, where they made it flat. Best laptop I ever bought, but I haven't owned it since because it was too wimpy. No power. But with this MacBook Air, I think we have an excessive amount of power here. And if you're looking for a laptop for development, I think you're going to be in a very good situation. These M1 chips, they look to be super fast, and the implementation, as I'm hearing, is not perfection, but it is close to it, meaning that even though not everything is native for M1 because it just came out, apps still run very, very fast. So in a few months to half a year, this thing should be really amazing. And it's not very expensive. That's a great thing about it. It's not very expensive. It's a good one to get into. What's going on here? Oh boy. We're getting Slack errors. Invalid argument exception route. SAS user dashboard. Not defined. I'm going to have to see what's going on with that later. All right. So I hope everybody is well. Again, I like leading with the conclusion. So you know the answer. If you're looking at a MacBook Air for development purposes, I think it's a very good choice, inexpensive, and I think you will enjoy it quite a bit. So yeah, I'm just getting notifications coming in. You have no idea how many DMs I get in a day. A lot. All right, so I'm going to go to the website here, the Mac website. And yeah, and let's look at some of the things, and then I'll do a little bit of Q&A at the end of this all. So power is in the air. Our finished latest notebook completely transformed by the M1 chip. CPU speeds up to 3.5 times faster. GPU speeds up to 5 times faster. Our most advanced neural engine, yet up to 9 times faster for machine learning. So I guess it could be pretty good for AI. The longest battery life ever in a MacBook Air and a silent fanless design. This much power has never been this ready to go. So yeah, the supercharged M1 chip. So this is, I think it's a 5 nanometer chip, and that's one of the reasons why it's so fast. 5 nanometers is basically a little, everything's very close together, so there's not much space in between. I guess you would call them transistors or whatever. Basically, communication within the chip itself is super fast, so you get a lot of performance boost. Because it's ARM-based, M1 chip is ARM-based, it runs cool, no fans required, very silent. I think this is going to be, and it's low cost, right? What is it in Canada, which is like Canadian dollars are worthless compared to American dollars. But how much is it now? 8-core CPUs. I see 8-core. It went up to 8-core. That's great. Game engines, 18 hours of battery life. So it's great if you're no fan, just air. Okay. So yeah, it looks like a big winner. It already, the reviews come in, and so people are saying it's fantastic. So if you're looking for a new laptop for development purposes and you're looking at Mac, I would definitely take a look at this. You're going to have more than enough power here. Now, if you were to buy this, now this is in Canada, so the cost in US will be like a fraction of this. But yeah, it's like 1,200 Canadian, so it's like 1,000 US, $999 US. It's cheap. This is all you need. I would probably bump it to the 512 gig of storage, but even 256 you can scrape by. But I would probably go to the 512. And there you have it. So yeah, my official verdict on this, because people were asking me, is this a good laptop for development? I believe so. I think this is a winner. And yeah. So I'm going to answer a couple of critics. I use both Mac, I use Windows, I use Android, I use iOS. Seems like a waste of money. What you're paying for with the Apple computers, and again, I use Windows for years. and I still have a Windows. I got a Surface Pro from Microsoft, great hardware, is you get a lot more stability with the software in Mac OS. I have to reboot maybe once every other year. Once every other year, I have to reboot. And I will imagine if they're using their own silicone, the M1 chip, you're going to see increased stability, you know? Good question. Is the Pro required? I don't think it is required for most programming. As I've been talking about for the last couple of years with regards to mobile development, the speeds of CPUs, whether it be in laptops and mobile phones, are getting so powerful. They're getting so fast that even the entry-level machines are just incredibly powerful. Apparently, you can edit 8K video on the MacBook Air, the new Air with the M1. That's 8K video. 8K video. That is huge, huge. Like I'm running right now a 2019 iMac, top of the line. And I don't think it could do an 8K video. So that tells you something about how performant those chips are. Yeah, that's true. You can only use it if you wanted to write native mobile applications, then yeah, you have to get a Mac. So yeah, I think it's a thumbs up. It's a thumbs up. I would highly consider it. I have a 2016 Mac Pro laptop, MacBook Pro rather, laptop, and I am considering with my next laptop, I will probably consider the Air. Stefan, learn PWA in a Need2Nerd basis. Is it a good idea? Yeah, I believe so. I believe so. That's definitely a Need2Nerd technology. That's in that slot. That's the video I'm going to put out. I'm going to put out a video of the official must-learn tech stack or technologies in terms of development, and the Need2Nerd technologies. PWA, Need2Nerd, no question. So let's see what Alexander has to say. Alexander says, after 4 years with MacBooks, both Air and Pro, I'm thinking of moving back to Ubuntu because Linux gives me more control on the system, but that's my opinion. Yeah, you know, some people like Porsche, some people like Audi, some people like BMW. Nobody likes Ruby. But yeah, if Ubuntu Linux is better for you, then I would use Ubuntu Linux. That was the Ruby joke. It's been a while. People have been starving for a Ruby joke, so I had to throw one in. Yeah, NRG code. So should I wait a few months till it gets all development environment? I want to go full stack web apps. I would imagine you can do it all, right? If you're writing code and you're not compiling, you're using a dynamic language, you're using Python or JavaScript or PHP or Ruby, which you shouldn't use. I'm only kidding. You could use Ruby if you want. If you're any of these languages where there's no compilation, no compiling rather, yeah, this will be more than powerful enough. I think you'll be fine. And even in compiled environments where Java or C#, C#.NET, for example, even then you're probably going to be very fine. I haven't done tests, but from what I'm seeing, this is a big leap. I think this is a big leap. Boop. It's not like an incremental improvement here. We're seeing like a big leap. Boop. So, you know, again, I'm somebody who's not a Mac zealot. I have Windows machines. This is a Pixel. I use Mac OS. I use iOS. So I'm neutral when it comes to the platforms. I just have to tell you, again, I use Windows for a lot longer than probably any of you because I'm 169 years old, so I've been using Windows for a long time. I can tell you, right, Mac OS is just more stable because it's Unix. Mac OS under the hood is FreeBSD, which is a flavor of Unix. So that's all it is. Processes are isolated in a Linux environment. Imagine Life Redesign says, I work on a MacBook Air now, not the newest, but still an Air, and it works really well. So there you go. And one of the things you got to look at is SSD speed. So apparently, the way their new architecture works in the new MacBook Air M1, there's better utilization, more optimal utilization of memory, and I imagine disk speed. SSDs are huge. Like whatever you do, whatever laptop you decide to get, a computer you decide to get, don't get an old spinning drive. Make sure your primary drive is SSD. It has a massive impact in terms of performance. Massive impact in terms of performance. So definitely do that. All right. Let's see. Route 8 says, I like the idea of being able to create useful websites and having a steady job, but I find learning process is super boring. That's because you're not learning with me. You got to learn with me. Should I keep tutoring myself or web dev, or it's not for me? Thank you, kindly. Good question. One of my pet peeves, and I'm not just saying this for competition purposes, but I'm just saying a lot of the code courses out there are designed by people who don't know how to teach, and B, they're designed by people who are noobs, so they put out this misleading information. Again, I'm self-serving here. Try out my WebStack course. Just try out the foundation course. That's the key. Try it out with the StudioWeb system. It's interactive. It's gamified. You score points. Bing, bing, boom, bang. You'll learn very quickly. Check out the reviews. If you don't like it, you get your money back. You get your money back. So don't give up. Don't give up. That's the pet peeve. As you know, I come from a family of teachers. My father's a teacher. Many of my aunts, uncles, cousins, 6 or 7 of my cousins are teachers. So I come from that background. It's a shame that people get turned off of coding because they run into a bad course. Don't get me wrong. There are good courses and tutorials out there, but there's a sea of bad ones. That's the problem. So don't give up. Try. Just keep going. My recommendation, whether or not you use my courses, 20 minutes a day. So even if it's really boring, just do that 20 minutes. You keep the ball moving forward step by step, okay? Don't give up because it's worthwhile, trust me. Once you get past that hurdle, that initial hurdle of learning. My mic, there we go. I'm sad to see Microsoft far behind Microsoft for the first time. You know, Microsoft is really, really good with their development environments, right? They're really, really good with their development environments, superior to, I would say, to Apple. And they have much better cloud infrastructure than Apple, for sure. The cloud for, okay. The cloud, so I will come, very professional, will come soon. Streaming. I forgot my glasses at my friend's house. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, Microsoft has very good products. Their development environments and their cloud services are really, really good as far as I can tell. So don't be sad. Every company has their strengths and weaknesses, you know? Mr. Xiao, I think I pronounced that correctly. What about dev jobs which heavily relies on low-level instruction set? What about them? Are you saying, would this computer be able to do a good job? I would imagine so. Speed is speed, you know? That's a good question. Can I install IntelliJ and M1 MacBook? I would imagine so. I would imagine so. And if it's not installable yet, it will be installable in a very short period of time because Mac computers are starting to gain a lot of traction now. Apple, for years and years and years, concentrated on their mobile devices. That's where they made 75% of their profit was on mobile. But that's beginning to plateau now. And so they're starting to, there's a lot of growth for them in the computer sector, whether it be laptops and desktops and things like the iMac. And so there's a lot of opening for them to grow there. So I imagine they're going to be putting a lot of money into development of that market. So look out. I wouldn't be surprised within 2-3 years, Apple takes 20% of the market in terms of computers. Again, it's not a knock on Windows. You know, every operating system, every type of computer has its pros and minuses. Again, my experience with Mac OS is that it is very stable. And because it's built, it's actually Linux or Unix behind the scenes, you got native command line built in. You have command line Windows, but it's not Unix based. Although now you get with Windows 10, you get a Linux distribution, I think it comes with. Sean is giving some advice there. All right. Let's see what we got here. From what I've heard, there's a limit of 16 gigabyte of RAM now, and it's not possible to extend. That's a big no for some tasks, i.e. work on Kubernetes, provision tools, and 16 gigabytes is absolute minimum for testing. Yeah, you have to know your target, but I think for most development, I don't think you have that issue. I think if you got 16 gig of RAM, I think you're pretty good. So I wouldn't be too concerned, especially if you're doing web stack stuff. What's going on here? Okay, sorry. Gameplay by Fox. Haha, we got the Ruby joke. I'm here to please. I'm here to please. So, what else is there? Ruby, it is a need to learn tech. Ha ha ha. Oh, double. Yeah, double. I've been starving you guys with Ruby jokes. I figured I had to give you a double this time around. Let's see, Stephen Peacock. Hey, Steph, watching from Newcastle, UK. Very cool. What would you say 41-year-old is too old to learn web development? Thanks. Love your show. No, not at all, because you could be up and running with your first job within a few months. Entry-level web stuff and maybe PWA, web, etc. If you got your fundamentals, you got good communication skills, and you set yourself up, your resume and your resume say properly, you can get a job pretty quickly. So what? You start at 41, you see your salary. I don't know what you're doing now, but I'm assuming you're looking at development because you know that developers make, on average, much more than typical any typical job. So at 41, you start making this much money. Why not? Why not do that, right? Why not go for that extra money? No, not at all. Listen, at 41, chances are you won't be hired by some young startup company, but there's a lot of opportunity working for companies, small, medium. I don't know what your background is. Maybe you have a professional background otherwise, so you can blend the two. So yeah, no problem. Osis says, how to check my basic knowledge of coding? Like, if really no basics, what would be your suggestion? I would go out there and do 2 to 3 freebie projects for small clients for free as stages. And if you're comfortable with your basics, you should be able to work it through. Is it going to be like super easy? No, you're going to be learning things along the way. And but there's nothing like, there's no motivation like having an actual client, paid or otherwise, to get you through learning new things. Another thing you can do is you could do again, I'll shamelessly self-promote. I got certifications. If you pass my certifications, you know your stuff. Yeah. Money is technology agnostic. Exactly. Business people are not going to say to you most of the time, if you approach them, if they, to build a certain project for them, they're not going to say, well, I insist that you use this, or I insist you. Sometimes they will because they have an investment in a previous stack. But business people are not technology aware typically, maybe just on a superficial level. So they're going to judge you based on how you present yourself and whether your skills align with whatever it is that they want to do. And a lot of times you're going to decide what stack to use. Not all the time, because it depends on circumstances. You can watch my previous vlogs, but a lot of times it's going to be you who's going to decide. So, in my active career as a developer, I've used 8 or 9 languages to write commercial apps where I was made money or paid money to do stuff. So don't get too caught up on that. Michael, hey Steph, I love your vlogs. Thanks for telling me. I'm glad you like it. I use most times Ubuntu on a 4-year-old gaming machine. It rocks like hell. Yeah, you can. Did you compile the kernel down to your hardware? That can change. Big game changer. For mobile use, I have a MacBook Pro and I think Thinkpad and a Thinkpad for Windows World. I pick what I need. Yeah, exactly. You could do that. That works pretty cool. Like, I have a few different things. I think one of the reasons why Mac OS is very efficient relative to Windows, because Windows, they have to, the code base in the Windows operating system has to conform to all kinds of different hardware. Whereas Apple, since they only write Mac OS for their hardware, they can strip out all kinds of excessive drivers and so forth. They don't need them because they know what the machines are. It's a very small set of machines. And especially when they start using their own silicon, they're going to be able to write, everything is sort of engineered to work together. So you're going to have much more efficiencies, much more speed in every single way. So there's a definite advantage to that. That's one of the big arguments Steve Jobs talked about back in the day, about this integration of hardware with operating system for maximum efficiency, Let's see what game. Personally, I have high hopes for the Project Valerie crazy laptop, but good one for senior. Yeah. I'm not familiar with the Project Valerie, but there's a lot of options out there. What's the Fizz 007 has to say? Mac is stable because it's It is tailored towards a single hardware, unlike Windows, which runs thousands of hardware configs. Exactly. Exactly. That's another reason why it's stable. RIP for people who got the MacBook Air earlier this year. No, it's still a great computer. It's still a great computer. If it does the job, who cares? Listen, when you're a young nerdling, and I've been there, you get caught up in, I got to get the new tech. I got to get the new tech. I got to get the new tech. But you get older and you realize a lot of times it's not make much of a difference. That being said, I say your pro tools, your day-to-day working tools should be updated on a regular basis, maybe once every 2 to 3 years, just for speed purposes. So, Jeffrey, love your courses, need to get back into it. I've been using Webflow and Elementor. Knowing code gives you an edge. Exactly. Something I teach as a professional. You may use Webflow and Elementor, but it's good to know the code, as Jeffrey is saying. It's just going to give you that edge. It's going to make it easy for you to use these products. And sometimes a particular job, Webflow or any other type of builder, is more than useful. So, yeah. No JS version for M1. I don't know. I might have to run through emulator. But listen, Apple is such a big and dominant player. I think they're still the biggest tech company in the world. All the software people are going to be rushing out to write software to support the new chipset. There's no question about that, so don't worry about that. Stefan, congrats for this high quality of image, scene, sound. Awesome to watch. Apple quality. Hey, Simeon Chis, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. If you ever try to do something, always try and improve. I talk about try and improve at 0.5% every day or 1% a day. Over time, it gets better and better. Again, what I learned about cinematography and video is that, again, the fundamentals are key. I got this super expensive camera. In all honesty, I didn't need to get it. The key to good video is the basics. Good lenses, but most importantly, good lighting. Good lighting, setting up the set. I got a light here, I got a light here, I got a light here, I got a light here. So good lighting, good set, this all plays a role. And I got a pretty good mic right here. Again, even with the mics, you can spend thousands of dollars on mics, which I have, or you can get like a decent mic. And the key for good miking is proximity. If the mic is close, what's going on here? Okay, cool. If the mic is close, you get good sound. That's pretty much it. All right, so what's good? Do you think more laptop manufacturers start making ARM-based laptops? I believe so, because for whatever reasons, Apple seems to set the tone of things. If the problem with ARM in the past was power, but with the M1, it looks like they solved that power issue, and sure enough, the other chip manufacturers are going to be scrambling to catch up. If you can do a fanless, sorry, I'm just reading commentary. If you could do a fanless architecture, you got to have a superior laptop, because you need energy to power that fan. You need the laptop is thicker to have that fan, so you can get rid of the fan. Fantastic. Jimmy, hey Steph, I'm doing the StudioWeb course. Thanks for picking it up. About to finish my CSS and starting JS soon. How much should I, as a new web developer, expect to earn while starting out during some actual work? Thanks. It depends where you live, right? It depends where you live. You're going to start off on the low end. It's going to be definitely above minimum wage. But I always tell people, Steph's method of getting the high-paying job is to do your fundamentals, which you're doing with StudioWeb, then put up your website, then do 2 to 3 small jobs for people for free. A lot of times they will spin into real paid work, but what you're doing is you're learning your craft, and you are learning to work with people, and you're building some reputation. It's so much better to walk into a job interview showing somebody that you actually done this, that's for sure. All right, so how are we doing for time? Okay, we're going to finish this off very soon. Best way to learn coding is to find a personal project, what you really want to realize, and try learning by doing. After your fundamentals, yeah, for sure. That's a great way of doing it. Also, just doing, like I said, doing work for somebody else. Kalizov, I think I pronounced. Hi, Steph from Russia. We love you. With love to you. Thank you. I appreciate that. My family is originally from Kiev, so next door neighbors. Laptop or desktop for developers? I would go with a laptop simply because you can move around, you can code on the go. One of the advantages of being a developer is you could maybe go on a trip for a weekend to Vegas and take care of a little work in the afternoons. You know, if you have a laptop, you can do that. If you bring around, trying to bring your desktop on your trips to Vegas, it doesn't work. You pay a little bit of a premium for the power, but that flexibility is just very much useful, even if you're moving around your house. Yeah. Hello, I can't buy a MacBook now. How can I use Xcode and HP Windows 8? Well, that I don't know. I'm not sure, but I'm 97.2% certain that you need a Mac to write Xcode. I would look at a Mac Mini. They have a Mini, which is M1 based apparently, so it's inexpensive relatively speaking. So you might want to look into that. Microsoft Cloud run on Linux from 50%. I don't know what you mean from 50%, but I'm sure it does. Yeah, Microsoft has opened itself up. It used to be very Windows centric and it was trying to stop everything. But now with the new management in the last several years, they've changed their thinking and they're saying, let's open up to every platform. Let's do it. And that's cool. So they're they're not so much Windows centric, they're much more tool centric and cloud centric. So they're somebody to look at. Even though I'm a Linux fan, I have to admit MacBook is really good. My 4-year-old Air is still alive and I don't have any serious problems with it. Exactly. It's a great computer. It's my favorite laptop. It's the best laptop I ever had was my old MacBook Air. I had the 2nd gen. And one good thing about MacBooks, people who don't use Macs, they look and they go, ooh, they're expensive for the power. But you don't know what you're getting because there's that optimization of the hardware with the operating system. And now with their own chipset, that takes it to a whole new level. And on top of that, that's my fridge. On top of that, what's the other point I was making about the MacBook? I forget. Oh, well, what are you going to do? Let me try that again. Maybe if I read this question, I'll come to my Air is still alive. Don't have any serious problems with it. I forget my major point. Yeah, there's a lot of advantage and stability to a unified platform. Yeah, on top of that, because now they got their own M1 chip, you might even see more optimization. Oh, here's the point. Macs have a very high resale value. I've been able to resell my Mac laptops every time. Very easy. And you can get maybe almost half of what you paid after 2-3 years. So if you look at the price, you can knock off, it's actually maybe 40% cheaper because you'll be able to sell it to somebody else within a few years. With Windows laptops, you don't have that opportunity, unfortunately. I cannot compile Python nor Erlang on Big Sur. Just a heads up, guys. Yeah, well, Big Sur just came out, right? So I didn't upgrade yet. I never upgrade to a new operating system. I wait at least a month or so. Never upgrade right away. Do you think we are going to see podcasts compete with M1? Podcasts compete with M1? I don't know what you mean by that. Yeah, that could be. That could be. I've never used the tall stack, so I'm not sure about that. Energy code. M1 is the best. Okay. All right, so we'll finish off. I gotta go. Yeah, you can't use Xcode on Windows machines if you are an Apple developer. You will have to buy an Apple machine and only Apple machine because Xcode runs on their operating system only. So there you go. That's pretty, I figured that much. If you're tight on budget and you really need to write an Xcode, I maybe look at The Mac Mini is the cheapest. You have to stick a monitor on it, but you never know. All right. YouTube never notifies me when there's a live stream. I'm always late, laugh out loud. I use a Lenovo Thinkpad, fantastic laptop, by the way. They have the best keyboards. Speedy little laptop, Core i7, 16 gig of RAM. At home, I connect it to a docking station. Yeah, that's a great setup, dude. I like the ThinkPads. Traditionally had the best keyboards. I'm sure they're still fantastic. I don't know if they're still the best, but they're really, really good. I hope the Air doesn't develop any overheating problems due to lack of cooling system. Well, we'll soon find out. I doubt it. Apple rarely makes mistakes. They seem to take their time before they release stuff. For years, they neglected their whole computer business for years. And they've been working, and here we go. We got the M1. So I'm actually pretty, I'm not going to upgrade now because I don't need to, but when the time to upgrade, I'll be happy to move over to the M1 architecture. Should I upgrade to 16 gig or 8 gig is okay for mobile development on a new MacBook? I would get 16 gig if I were you. Pay the little extra. Trust me, 8 gig, you might get by, but 16 is much better. All right. Bastian said, I want to switch from Windows to Mac now. I am a web dev, PHP, Git, JavaScript. Should I get the new M1 16 gig MacBook Pro or the 13-inch i5 32 gig? As far as I know, you can only connect one monitor with the M1. Yeah, well, do you need two monitors? I don't know. That's an issue. Do you need two monitors? Then your answer is that. I don't know. It's a good question. I would just look at, if you need two monitors, then obviously you can't get the Air, right? What would be your advice to someone living in a third world country looking to break into the field? Well, you don't need to get a new laptop. You can get like a 4 or 5 year old laptop easily to write code, so you don't have to go super expensive. You get a desktop. Your writing you look like you write well. So the biggest problem with third world people from third world countries is that they got to be able to communicate well. Communication skills is huge. As I tell people for the longest time now, you're much better off to work on your communication skills than learn a new framework or a new language after you know your fundamentals. So that's what I would do. Make sure you write well, you communicate well in the host country. So if you're looking about the UK or US or Canada, definitely make sure your English is good. But it looks like, based on what I read, it looks like you write well. So hopefully, I imagine you speak well as well. Yeah, for sure. And in fact, in my my mentoring program, I'm adding actually a module just on communications. That's how important it is. You have to be a good communicator if you want to advance as a software developer. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. Give me a thumbs up if you like the stream. I'm trying to keep these things relatively short. We'll talk soon. I'll give you a little ASMR video I think people like. This is it. There we go.